What if the most iconic caped hero in cinema history wasn't fiction? What if he was blood, was rage, was real? There's a head in a glass jar, preserved in alcohol, displayed to the public for $1 a look, and for decades, no one knew for certain whose head it was or whether the man it belonged to had ever truly died. This is the story of Joaquin Murieta, the bandit of California, the Robin Hood of the West, the man who may have inspired Zorro and who may never have existed the way you think he did. The year is 1848. Mexico has just surrendered more than half its territory to the United States. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo redraws the map, handing California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Colorado to a nation that barely knows what to do with that much land. And somewhere in that land, someone just found gold. Joaquin Murieta was 18 years old. He came from Sonora, Mexico, with his young wife, his brothers, and his brothers-in-law. He came with hope. He came to believe in a promise. The gold rush was turning California into a chaos of greed. And in that chaos, the Mexicans, who until recently had owned that land, were now being called foreigners. A new law called the Foreign Miners Tax taxed non-Americans so heavily that many simply left. But Murieta stayed. His mine was producing, his work was paying off, and that's exactly where the legend begins. American miners seized Murieta's claim by force. They tied up his brother, hanged him, whipped Murieta like an animal, and right in front of his eyes they brutally assaulted his young wife. No authority came, no law protected him. The law, in that moment, belonged to those with the right skin. Murieta vanished into the hills of the Sierra Nevada, and when he came back different. He formed a gang called the Five Joaquins, 5 men all sharing the same first name. A disturbing coincidence, or perhaps a deliberate strategy of confusion. His right-hand man was Manuel Garcia, nicknamed Three-Fingered Jack, a war veteran who had lost 2 fingers in combat during the Mexican-American War. Together, they brought terror to the mining camps. They are said to have stolen over $100,000 in gold, more than 100 horses, and at least 19 men died in encounters with the gang. But what turned Murieta into legend wasn't the robbery, it was what happened after. The stolen gold, local Mexican residents would say, was distributed among the poor, among families driven off their land, among those no law protected. He was a Robin Hood, or he was what the people needed to believe. By 1853, California Governor John Bigler had reached his limit. He created a special force, the California Rangers, led by former Texas Ranger Harry Love. The mission was simple: capture or kill Murieta. The reward, $5,000. On July 25, 1853, the Rangers encountered a group of Mexican men near Panoche Pass in San Benito County. There was a confrontation. 2 men died. One of them, the Rangers claimed, was Murieta. But how do you prove that to an entire state when no one could say for certain what Murieta even looked like? The solution was disturbing. They cut off his head, preserved it in a jar of brandy, and traveled the state, charging $1 to anyone who wanted to look at the famous bandit's severed head. And then the doubts began. Murieta's own sister looked at that head and said, "That is not him." People reported seeing Murieta alive, reported receiving gold directly from his hands weeks after his alleged death. The robberies continued. The legend grew. In 1875, 22 years after the official death, the San Francisco Herald received a letter signed by a man. The letter said only, "I still have my head," and it was signed Joaquin Murieta. No one knows if it was him. No one ever knew. And the gold? They say part of what was stolen never found, that it's buried somewhere in the Sierra Nevada hills in a location only Murieta knew. To this day, treasure hunters comb those mountains searching for something that may not exist or may be worth millions. But the story doesn't end there. In 1854, just 1 year after Murieta's death, a Cherokee writer named John Rowland Ridge published a novel. It was about a Mexican outlaw, a man of double identity, a vigilante masked by rage, a man who used darkness to strike the powerful and protect the forgotten. That book found its way into the hands of a pulp fiction writer named Johnston McCulley. In 1919, McCulley published a serial called The Curse of Capistrano. The main character had a secret identity. He wore a black cape. He rode through darkness. He had an obsessive sense of justice. And the given name of McCulley's protagonist in that original story? Alejandro Murieta. The character was Zorro. Zorro, the symbol of Hollywood, of Latin heroes, of justice in disguise, was born from a real bandit, or from a bandit who may have been real, or from a myth that a people needed so desperately to believe that they turned it into flesh and bone. And the creator of Batman, Bob Kane, confirmed that Zorro was the primary inspiration for the Dark Knight, which means the shadow of Joaquin Murieta stretches all the way into the pages of the most famous comic books in the world. So, who was Joaquin Murieta, after all? A criminal? An avenger? A collective myth? A man who may never have existed exactly as he was told to us, and for that very reason can never be erased. The head in the jar? It was displayed for years. They say it survived the great San Francisco earthquake of 1906 and then disappeared. Some say it was destroyed. Others say it was sold. One American filmmaker claimed to have found it, but the head he displayed was made of wax. Murieta's body, according to some records, may be buried in a Jesuit cemetery in Cucurpe, Mexico, where some say he lived until the late 1870s. If that's true, he survived, he escaped, he hid the gold, and spent the rest of his life watching the world turn him into a legend. There's something far more unsettling than a dead bandit. It's a bandit who gets away and leaves you not knowing whether the story you believe is even real.